Hi, Jakobs, Unisport, here today at FC Barcelona's training ground, La Masia, where some of the best players in the world train. I'm not one of them though, but I am instead one of the first people in the world to try out the brand new Nike Hypervenom II. And to tell you what the first impression is like playing in this bad boy at La Masia. I know, let's get going. The first noticeable feature is, of course, the Flyknit and the addition of the dynamic fit color, which makes the Hypervenom II feel more like a sock than the first generation, simply because the heel seam has been moved towards the inside of the foot. That gives you a really free and distraction-less feel. So it does feel like a really tight-fitting sock around your ankle, simply because there's nothing putting pressure on your ankle joints when you move your foot. Another thing that stands out and that actually worried me before I tried on the boot was how the transition between the Flyknit and the Nike Skin upper was gonna be. But fortunately, Nike made it completely seamless, so there's not really anything in the way. And actually the Hypervenom II is pretty comfortable. It wraps nicely and softly around your foot. And also the last they used is the same they used on the Hypervenom I. So width and lengthwise, it's also the same. Obviously the fit is a bit different, a bit more seamless and sock-like. The big difference though is the lockdown, where Nike have added flywire cables to keep your foot securely locked on the plate. And you actually definitely feel that around the forefoot especially, where you get a really great lockdown. But also the placement of the flywire cable means that you actually feel you can bend and flex your foot in any direction without feeling too restricted. But that's just my first impression though. But definitely you do get a more secure lockdown that also feels a bit more strapped in than the Hypervenom I. Now the sole plate and the stud configuration is largely the same because most of it is basically unchanged. Although Nike changed the compound a little bit, so it is ever so slightly softer. And you actually feel that when you go on the pitch, because especially the forefoot and the split toe design is more flexible. And this split toe design actually didn't really do anything for me on the Hypervenom I, so the fact that it moves more with your big toe is a welcome addition. So around the ball, the Hypervenom II feels ever so slightly softer and more padded than the Hypervenom I. It's still a really close to the ball feel, but you also immediately feel these little fibers that Nike engineered into the mesh in the upper that gives you a bit more dampened touch on the ball, especially also when you strike, which is actually a right pleasure because you get this big, large, clean striking surface, but also it takes away a bit of the sting you get when you strike the ball with force. Which is fortunate, because that's what the Hypervenom is made to do. Now for those wondering, the Hypervenom II doesn't really feel like the Magia or the Superfly. Obviously the dynamic fit color is there, but that's pretty much it. And this feels more like the Hypervenom we know, because we get the focus on striking, we get the flexible and agile sole plate, but it also feels a bit evolved and a bit more seamless when you play in it. So in other words, it does feel like a pretty good evolution. And I can't wait to put this a bit more into the test for my full review. But what do you guys think? You should let me know in the comment section below. Because this was all I have for you for today, but we're back again later, although not on La Masia in Unisport Web TV. Signing off, cheerio.